der zentralen Position. Nur Schwarze hat er noch vor sich. Dann ist es Freiburg. Er ist im Strafraum. Und der Feld. Tor! Tor! Für die Frankfurter Eintracht. 5:1. Herrje!
Hi and welcome to the German Fußball podcast, week 3 of the Bundesliga. And as always, myself and Dad Jan Fjortoft here to analyze the round. Bit later than usual, but I think the excuse is pretty valid, Dad. I want to start with you because you are currently at an airport right now, but involving a Bundesliga team and a pretty cool link-up. Can you tell us where you've been? Because I think it's a pretty cool project to hear about.
Yeah, I just want to start with the last 65 hours. Left home Monday morning and went to Munich, drove to Salzburg, where I was a part of a program with Servus TV called In the Hangar, where there are different guests. I was with Christian Falk, was nice. We wanted to have Fabrizio Romano there as well, but he had a couple of well-deserved days off. I think he deserved that. And the Salzburg coach, Gerhard Struber, who is a new coach, who used to be in New York and used to be at Barnsley Football Club. That was great. And as a Formula One fan, as you know I am, I met Dr. Marco. Do you have to say his name right? And he is a legendary advisor to Red Bull, which was great. But this morning then I went to Rome. I'm sitting in Rome now. I'm waiting for my flight back to Norway, but it's a great project. I am an ambassador for Eintracht Frankfurt. I've been a proud ambassador for Eintracht Frankfurt, and we have something called the Norwegian Forum, that is with Norwegian companies involved in Germany and in Norway. But this time we've been in the Vatican City. It's a place that I've been very privileged to be inside the Vatican a couple of times. And as you know, Markus, I'm very proud. In my office, there is a photo of myself with the Pope. I didn't meet the Pope this time, but I met our friends there. We had 2 meetings, and then it all ended with a sightseeing where you know, when you go to these places where you have a guide that you always want to go between the barriers, over the barriers, behind the queues. And it was fantastic, Marcus. We went to see where Pope Francis lived. We saw all the parks, went up to Vatican Hill. I could speak forever, but it's for Eintracht Frankfurt was great to be on the road for them. As you know, it's a club I love to do things with. And we will see how this can be a partner and how we can make a partnership using football to open doors. Yeah, that's I think that I loved all my life. So busy days, but you know, Marcus, these are the days I like. So
yeah,
what did you do in the weekend? You relax in the weekend?
I was relaxing at the weekend and obviously very delighted with a late Arsenal win as well, and then followed the Bundesliga, of course. And if we delve into that, you've always got a plane to catch and what have you as well. I guess we can make a little bridge from Eintracht, from one former number 9 Eintracht player to another former number 9 Eintracht Frankfurt player in Kolo Muani as well. Just before we get into the matches, because they played a rather unsensational draw yet again. In terms of Muani, we had Fabrizio Romano on last season, and they said there would take a lot for Kolo Muani to leave Eintracht Frankfurt. He said it would be in the bid in the region of 100 million, and he ended up leaving for 95 million euros. So his prediction was right in that sense. Eintracht Frankfurt get a fantastic return for a player who's just been there for a year, but sadly it ended not so amicably. He went on strike. He has an agent who is also the agent of Ousmane Dembele, who also gone on strike. So whether that being a factor in the overall influence, but I don't know, some of your thoughts reflecting on maybe Muani's time, but also how it ended.
Well, I think that players going on strike, that is, of course, not the way to do it. I think that gave a bitter kind of taste at the end of his time at Frankfurt. Having said that, it's always difficult to get into the mind of a young player. It's how much influence, as you were saying, from the agent. So, but that is not good for him at all. What is good, by the way, is that, as you were saying, Eintracht Frankfurt get a player on free transfer from Nantes, zero euro, and I'm selling him now for a package of 95 million euros. Yes, Eintracht tried to get a replacement, but they didn't succeed in doing that. But if you are a guy or you're a leader of a club that get 95 million euro, you have to do it. That is sadly how it's done. You saw even with Harry Kane leaving Tottenham 2-3 days before the league starts. You have a bit of responsibility as leader. And yes, I would love to have seen Muani being there, but you see bigger clubs than Eintracht Frankfurt need to do the right financial kind of stuff. So yes, so they sold Muani, and Jesper Lindström went to Neapel. So it was a busy Borré, the guy who made a decisive penalty. He went on loan, I guess, on loan to Werder Bremen. So it was predictable for Eintracht, but Eintracht have had a good transfer window. But this Muani thing I just felt it had to happen.
Yeah. I mean, also we touched upon this before in terms of the testament to the word Markus Krösche does at Eintracht Frankfurt, and let's face it, I think, you know, as a profile, Eintracht Frankfurt has a lot of upside in terms of the city it's in terms of the fan base, in terms of the stadium, in terms of the recruitment. But it's tough making that leap. You know, inevitably your best players will be picked up by the best clubs, even in RB Leipzig, who are one of the main contenders to Bayern Munich. The same for Dortmund. It's really just Bayern who are able to retain their best players. If we make it a bit about the recruitment,
but just Markus, having said that, it's just a year ago that Bayern Munich, the biggest club in Germany, had to sell Lewandowski.
Of course.
And I played a year without a striker. So that can happen to any club. But if you were on your way to Leipzig, people will have a look at their recruitment this season, that they are doing well. They've sold all the best players. They got a lot of best players. They've always got new players, but they've sold so many great players and still managed to establish a challenger for at least top four, but also maybe, if we loving Bundesliga fans, hope that they can challenge Bayern for the title.
And I think it also points to something important, which is having a conducive transfer strategy. You've been sporting director, Dad. You've been in the game a long time. You've seen ways to do it. You've seen ways to not do it. I'd like to hear your thoughts, though, in terms of how the clubs differ. So you have, I'd say, the plus side here, I'd say, is RB Leipzig and Bayer Leverkusen in terms of the recruitment they've done. Simon Rolf, as you've praised and said what a fantastic job he does, and Leverkusen and then RB Leipzig as well. And then I look a bit at the top two teams from last season, Bayern being one of them. Harry Kane will, of course, regardless of what else of recruitments or not you've got Harry Kane, which is a fantastic bit of work. And then they have their weaknesses there in terms of not getting replacements for a Pavard, for a Gravenberch, albeit as a backup as he was, but even still. And then Dortmund also, who gets our favorite Füllkrug, but at the same time, you're finding it a bit hard as to what is the strategy. What are we looking for? Does Terzic want one player? Does Kelo want a different? They have Aller, they have Moukoko. Maybe they need strengthening in other positions. What is your overall, I guess, analysis? There's a lot of teams to factor in, but if you get my drift in terms of how we see these main contenders going into this season.
Yeah, as you know, when I travel in Germany, I always buy the magazines or radio papers because, yes, we get a lot of it in the net, but there's a lot of plus cases, and I don't want to use money on all the plus articles. But it was a big interview with the Uli Hoeneß now. First of all, he had to go at everybody who speculated about transfer, being a Christoph Falk or Plattenberg by Sky, or maybe myself, and a lot of people, Fabrizio Romano. And he said he's like fools being locked into a cage. That was the words he was using, as Uli Hoeneß is doing. Uli Hoeneß said that this hectic that they had on the transfer deadline day, that is not worthy of Bayern Munich. He said that back in the days, and he's been around since he was 27, and now he's over 70. So back in the days, he said we planned so much ahead. I understand what he's saying, but on the other hand, I think that has changed a bit because the main thing now was Palinia, the number 6, the Fulham player, who was in Bayern. He was at Bayern. He had done 2 medical tests. He has made all his photos for a media presentation, and then Fulham didn't manage to get a replacement. They even tried at the end for Scott McTominay at Manchester United, didn't work out, so he had to go back. And I do understand what Uli Hoeneß is saying, because the clubs who can sort out their business early is good, what Arsenal did with Declan Rice, as Manchester City has done. Yes, Manchester City got active at the end as well, but Guardiola was always there. Same with his unbelievable offer on Salah. I mean, yes, they have a lot of money, but how can you come so late? I mean, with this.
Why do Bayern come so late then? If Tuchel has been asking for a 6 for a long time, why?
Because I don't think they can agree. As you know, people who are our loyal listeners or viewers, they know that there is a Magic 7 advisory board at Bayern Munich, and I don't think they have agreed 100% how they're going to do their business in this transfer window in terms of at least number 6, because I think they felt when he gets Harry Kane, he gets the England captain, he gets his striker, that's going to be enough. Okay, then they sold Pavard. Pavard wanted to go away. Lothar Matthäus, who played for both Bayern Munich and Inter, he said, why does he want to go there? That is not an up from Bayern. But if you see the transfer window of Bayern, I think I calculated they have done 16 million euro plus, around 60 million euro. So Hernandez, Pavard, Gravenberch, that they get a lot of money for when we know that they're not using it. Dortmund, on the other hand, Dortmund can't buy the most wanted thing that Dortmund want. That is their winning DNA. They can't win. They can't buy that. And as I was waiting for you now to set up, I was reading an article where Matthias Sammer, the advisor to Dortmund, said there was a lot of things that Jude Bellingham did that disturbed the player.
But is this still ongoing from the reports we've heard weeks earlier?
It's still ongoing, and apparently when he wanted to, after the game, he waited till they got in, and he did the extra round and said, hey, I've listened to Rest is Football now. That is a podcast that I love. And they say, and I will say, as Alan Shearer used to say, just fuck off. Because I can't believe that they're saying that, because that is embarrassing. The winning mentality, they were 2-0 up against Heidenheim, 2-0 up against Heidenheim, and managed to do a 2-2. And I saw, because I was in a family party, so I just watched the last, I think, 20 minutes or something of the game. It was so open. They could have lost 5-2. They could have won 5-2 as well, but it was so open. And so Dortmund has done that. Leverkusen, on the other hand, Boniface scoring again. Xhaka is in there doing a strategy that is long-term and short-term. They've also can do their business on a short term as well, Leverkusen. But I mean, I just get frustrated, because I think that the transfer window is also a mirror of the culture of the club, and I understand what Uli Hoeneß is saying. He's saying we have to plan this. If we need a defender, we need to do that early. The problem is, of course, Markus, the club you're buying the defender for need a replacement. So it's not that easy that Uli Hoeneß is saying.
And then you got a Christoph Freund coming in as well, who we've discussed in terms of the overall profile, a bit different in terms of how the recruitment is done. But yes, just to conclude that, it is a bit unlike Bayern, perhaps. It doesn't seem as congruent, the overall transfer strategy. There were also those criticisms towards Salihamidzic and Khan, even though they had some good signings at the time. So it'll be interesting to see. I guess I wanted to move us forward, and we can look towards our players of the week, Dad, because then we can have a discussion about the games. I don't know if you want to start with your player of the week, and then we can discuss the goals he was involved in that game.
Yeah, first of all, our player of the week. So I'm just looking at my list here, and I'm just seeing how many goals they've scored. I mean, Boniface scoring 2 again, Hoffenheim scoring again, and then Union, of course, losing at home 3-0 to Leipzig. And I guess Šeško is a good key for that. Šeško we know about in Salzburg. Salzburg, he came from there. Szoboszlai had a great game for Liverpool as well this weekend. So you just see that philosophy that Salzburg is having is fantastic. And that's why I was with Gerhard Struber yesterday. We were in the same show and I talked with him. They beat, unfortunately, my club, Rapid Wien 2-0 the day before. Simic scored 2 goals. There's another 19-year-old striker for you in Salzburg. I had a look at the team, Markus, and because it has to be said where Šeško is coming from. Salzburg, who is now going to play in the Champions League against Benfica, Sociedad, and Inter Milan. They have now a 37-year-old, Ulma, on the left back, of course. He's been all his life, and that is a long life. And then you have a goalkeeper, Schwega, who is 27, and the rest are players 23 and under. 23 and under. The 19-year-old Simic, and Šeško went the same way. He came there, Szoboszlai came there, Erling Haaland came there, and that philosophy, they're creating players. And Leipzig now with Marco Rose is the same Red Bull philosophy. They're signing players, quick players, under 23. That was always the identity of the transfer strategy. Max Eberl and Marco Rose and Minslav, who is now one of the bosses in Red Bull, and I guess in the project I'm doing with Sevus Tifi being a guest there, he is the big boss there. And they're still doing. So my player of the week will be Šeško, not only based on him, but based on the philosophy which he is a product of.
And we do have it on, for those particularly interested, we did do a little piece on him when RB Leipzig signed him in terms of the overall profile of the player, if you want to know more in depth. I was just looking here at mine, and I think it's a deserving one at that. And we tend to go with the strikers, Dad, but very much deserved considering his start to the season, considering this team start to the season. That is Stuttgart and Guirassy. Guirassy scored. He's got 5 goals in the Bundesliga. Scored another brace now again in a 5-0 victory against Freiburg, by the way, who started with 3 straight wins. Guirassy scores 2 more goals. A player which is interesting, who had his stint in the Bundesliga at Köln, didn't quite work out for him, went back to France, kind of worked himself back, ended up playing Champions League for Rennes, etc. Went on loan to Stuttgart last season, did very well. Stuttgart followed up on their option to buy the player, have bought him, and with this signing being obviously a strong signing as part of this rebuild under Sebastian Hoeneß, they now scored 5 goals in their 2 games at home this season, conceded 5 goals the other, even though at 1-0 up away to RB Leipzig, I thought they looked good, they looked promising, and goals will change games, of course, plus it'll collapse in the second half. But wow, like, it is very interesting to watch Stuttgart now, considering how their season went last season. But I'm very excited by this team, excited by Sebastian Hoeneß, and Guirassy being kind of the symbol of this comeback, of this rebuild of Stuttgart.
Good choice, Markus. And it's interesting, Stuttgart got now a goal difference of 11-5. That is Sebastian Hoeneß for you. It was an unbelievable, entertaining round. You had Mainz losing 4-0, to Bremen. I mean, where did that come from? And you have a lot of those results. And we have to be said just at the end, Markus, in the Topspiel, the biggest game, Gladbach won, Bayern 2. And I got some stats on Tell. Mattis Tell. It's not a lot of people know that, because we always said, always been talking that they needed a new striker, and he get the stats he's having. I think he's got 25 games in the Bundesliga. He's been there for a year. He was like the young replacement for Choupo-Moting when last season. But Tell, it's interesting in the Bundesliga's modern history. He got a goal every 65 minutes. When he plays, it's 65 minutes. Alcacer, who used to be a striker for Dortmund, had 76, and Haaland Erling over 80. That, of course, it's unbelievable numbers for Erling because he played there for a long time. But just say that Mathis Tel is someone to watch. He's one of the greatest talent there is. But again, Bayern winning away from home, Leroy Sané scoring, and it was interesting. And if I may say, just before I have to jump in the plane, and you can have the last words, Markus, on this podcast, we always have to have a look at Zweite Bundesliga. And I
don't think I've ever seen this result in football. I don't think I've ever looked at a game and remembered this result, but somehow.
And I can tell you that I have been involved in a game like that.
Okay.
We played Viking. Yeah, with Viking when I was 19 or 20 years of age. We lost with HamKam. We lost 6-4. So Magdeburg beats Schalke 6-4. But that is not the.
Hertha.
If you thought that. Sorry, Magdeburg Hertha.
Yeah.
With the there are three things now interesting with this game. First of all, coach Dardai got 3 of his sons in the team. Okay, that is spectacular. But the funniest thing about this game is not the 6-4. Is that Hertha was 1-0 up, Hertha was 2-1 up, Hertha was 3-2 up, there was 4-3 up, and then they lost 6-4. Can there be a more typical Hertha game and result and development ever? The second league in Germany, that is just delivering stories all the time.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And there's some good podcasts that also follow the Zweite Bundesliga more in depth. We always have an eye to that. Sensational kind of result. And like we've said before, the contrast could not be starker with a Union Berlin who are about to play Real Madrid at the Olympiastadion.
What a game that is going to be.
Oh, incredible. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we don't get to see him at Union Berlin Stadium, but it was a rather thoughtful consideration, mature kind of analysis as to why they did it there was to get all of the members to watch the game, which is a very nice thought, I think.
I like that.
Yeah, I liked it. It was nice. It was a thoughtful decision at that. We'll obviously discuss that more in depth. You have a plane to catch. We have an international break now. Norway, Germany, the whole lot will be in action. We'll be back analyzing the Bundesliga again. And then it will be interesting to see over the international break if Hansi Flick can get some kind of semblance of a team structure ahead of their Euros next season. So, all of that to analyze.
Yeah, and the big news now, of course, here in Germany, I say here in Germany because I was there yesterday, is that Thomas Müller is back. There's a comeback from Thomas Müller in the national team. And Markus, you are coming back. I'm going to Thursday. I'm seeing Norway against Jordan. That is a friendly. And then on Tuesday, we're going together to see Norway, Georgia. I mean, Scotland has had a fantastic start in our group, but we're looking forward to see that. And Markus, I know you have a great week, and I would like, although as a dad, I shouldn't be too complimentary on the podcast, but because I don't sound so neutral. But we went to the PFA Award, the Professional Football Association Award, on Tuesday, and you guys at PFA and yourself did a fantastic job. I enjoyed myself there. 4 Norwegians with Frida Manum, Guro Reiten, Martin Ødegaard, Erling Haaland nominated for the Player of the Year. Player of the Year was Erling Haaland, Saka Youth Player of the Year, and it was just a fantastic evening. So thanks a lot for that, and then I'll have to have a plane to catch. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen. It was a pleasure to have you on, and then we will catch up shortly again.